Pastor Ituah Ighodalo, Senior Pastor of the Trinity House Church. Pastor Ighodalo, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Thank you very much, my brother Ruben.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, same to you. Merry Christmas in advance. Now, quickly, in the UK, we have been told that there is now a virulent, ferocious variant of the virus. Other countries in Europe are saying, look, people from the UK should just stay in there. Canada has also joined. The rest of the world is anxious. Here in Nigeria, we have been told that there is a second wave. And also, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has said maybe Nigeria should just lock up any kind of transaction during this period with the United Kingdom. How is the Church of God preparing for this, particularly as Grinch seems to have stolen Christmas and Christmas is being cancelled everywhere? What is your message to Christendom at this critical moment where we are facing second wave, third wave of COVID-19?
Well, the most important thing at this point is to be safe and to be sure that you have the life to celebrate, by God's grace, many more Christmases. What has happened in the year 2020 is unprecedented. It's never happened before. And if this is the situation where we find ourselves, then it's very wise to follow the laid down protocols as directed by the experts through the government. Okay, the usual social distancing, the wearing of face masks, and the reduction in the numbers of people that gather together in public places. This no doubt affects the economy. It affects the well-being of people. It affects their typical lifestyles. But I think it's a worthwhile sacrifice to make for the prevention of illness, first of all, and then the preservation of life. So I think we as church members, we as Christians, even our brothers who are in the mosques, should listen to what the experts are saying. And we do hope that they're giving us expert advice so that we can follow the protocols and see each other in the new year.
And that's our prayer. But religious houses have been blamed partly for the rise in numbers in Nigeria. According to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, they say religious houses have flouted all the protocols, continue to hold mass gatherings. I wonder what your response to that is. But most importantly, I also want to know, would you agree that COVID-19 has truly cancelled Christmas? As we are seeing, people, governments breaking traditions, scaled back Christmas. Around Lagos, I'm yet to see, those lights and those Christmas decorations we are used to, even in the city of Lagos. So this is real. But would you say that COVID-19 has actually cancelled Christmas, or this is a sort of reset button for Christians to understand the true meaning of Christmas?
I think it's a reset button for everybody all over the world to reflect on their lives and to focus on things that are critical, things that are important, reduce the level of flamboyance and excessiveness in terms of celebration, and have a more urbane or more civilized or more focused kind of celebration. Nothing can cancel Christmas. Christmas is a spirit, and it's not necessarily the festivities that's all about Christmas. Christmas is a story around which the world centers, that God came in the form of man, was a baby in a manger, and was born so that he could carry the sins of man, so that whosoever believes in this seemingly ridiculous story, that God carried away the sins of man, and if you believe that Jesus Christ came and died for your sins, then you are saved. That is the spirit of Christmas, and that can be celebrated in any form, shape, or manner. It doesn't have to be a large gathering. It doesn't have to be all in the church. And in those days anyway, church was in various homes. So what we need to do as Christians is to find other ways of celebrating, thanking God, being grateful to him for the gift of Christmas. And then to speak to the issue as to whether the churches are the ones who have not allowed COVID or gone against COVID protocols. I regret to say that I don't quite agree. I think the government has bigger fish to fry. If you go to any of the markets, any of the bus stops, any of the outskirts of town, any of the busy places, Mushin, Ajegunle, all those places, people don't even wear masks. They don't wear masks. So those gatherings of people is much more than the gatherings you have in any church from time to time. And in fairness to most churches, they have tried. They have tried. A few, no doubt, have flouted the rules here and there, but most of them have tried to keep to the COVID protocols. For about 4 months, no church was opened. Everything was online. Subsequently, the government began to reopen the church bit by bit. Most of them had the social spacing that was required. They did the aeration that was required. They did the hand washing and the temperature check that was required. A few flouted, but most of the big churches did not have their big gatherings this year. You didn't have the experience like you used to have it at TBS. Even the Redeemed Christian Church of God reduced their gathering to just one night, as against 7 nights of gathering of people, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure Canaan Land did virtually almost the same. So if those are the huge churches, and they did do their best to observe this thing. So it's not fair to say that it is the churches that are flouting COVID guidelines.
Okay, we're going to go to a quick break soon, but let me just ask the question. I want to ask a question around people, that this year has been tumultuous for them, that they're dealing with personal loss, and it's Christmas, and they wish people they had lost were around here with them on Christmas. I mean, what would you tell them? What do you say to a lot of people reeling from this year? It was not just a tough year, but it came with a lot of losses. A lot of people lost people very dear to them, and Christmas is a period of reflection, and they wish those very loved ones are there with them at this point in time. Which is the fact that you suffer your personal loss too, that we still, say very big commiserations to you on. I mean, what do you say to people hurting and aching this period?
It's been a very tough year. I was just telling somebody yesterday that there's almost no house that was not affected one way or the other, or even if the house wasn't affected directly, they had a close friend or a close relative that went through some kind of loss or the other. Even up until yesterday, I had to pay 3 or 4 condolence visits to different people of different ages that had lost a loved one, not just from the pandemic, but things associated with the pandemic. Some people couldn't go for their regular medical checkups. There were accidents. The NSAS came and went also. That created a glitch in the atmosphere of Nigeria. So the dullness in society today is not just because of COVID, it's also because of this great sense of personal loss and the NSAS things that people went through, the damage to their property, the damage to their lives, the loss of lives, and so on and so forth. All I can say at this time is that God is still on the throne. God is still fully in control. God is still in charge. God knows what he's doing. And life, whether we like it or not, sooner or later, we will go through loss. So we should be prepared for that loss, and we should embrace it when it comes, and we should trust God that God will take us through it. And indeed, bit by bit, over time, he doesn't take away the memory, but he takes away the pain. You get used to it. You reset your life, and then you try to do things along the lines that you pray that God would like to direct you. And then it's a lesson to you also of your own mortality, so that you make the best of life as you have it, by speaking the truth, by being sincere, by being honest, by being good to other people, and by working hard to make way for other people. And it gives a lot of thinking and sober reflection for those who are wise and those who know that there is God in charge.
Well, Pastor Ituah, apart from being a pastor, I know that you are also a public affairs analyst. What do you think of the attempt by certain states of the Federation to shut down schools, to lock down certain areas of business in their states in the face of this second wave that we have been told by the Presidential Task Force is now upon us? And what other measures, what other steps do you think that government should take to address this scourge of COVID-19?
You know, the challenge with COVID-19 is that it came upon us unexpectedly. Nobody's quite used to it, and nobody really has all the answers. So a lot of the reactions are a bit of a panic here and there. If we need to shut down the schools again for a certain period, I think we really don't have a choice until we get a handle on this thing. And then the cost of enforcement also can be pretty high. I mean, going around everywhere, making sure people obey the simple guidelines that have been given. But we cannot continue in that state forever. We must find a way of continuing normal life, even in the face of COVID. I thank God that some vaccine has been found in different parts of the world, but it's probably not enough to go around at this point in time. So I think the pandemic or the illness or the virus is defeatable. It's defeatable if we observe the protocols. It's defeatable if we take the right kind of medications. It's defeatable if we are honest to ourselves, and as soon as we begin to feel uncomfortable, we seek medical help. It's defeatable also as a spiritual man with prayer and with hope that God would allow this to pass through. But I really think we should try and observe all the protocols and then see how it goes.
Okay. So you're agreeing that if the need arises, we should shut down the schools again. Should the government say religious houses should also be shut down? Would you agree to that as well? And Christians have been taught over the years that faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. How challenging has COVID been on the faith? And how do they balance that? You know, this is COVID-19. It does exist. But as Christians, they believe in faith. And all of that ties to misinformation about COVID-19, something that, you know, the religious houses have not been left out on.
Well, faith is not foolishness. Faith is believing in the wisdom and the strength of God. And there are rules in life. I mean, you just have to follow those rules. Even in the Bible, there are dietary rules, there are health rules, there are hygiene rules, and so on and so forth. It's the Bible that said, shut yourself away for some time when there's a pandemic. It's the Bible that says when you are feeling a spot on your face, don't touch the spot, wash your hands, separate yourself for 7 days, let's see what happens to the spot, and then if there's nothing happening, come to the priest, show him the spot. If it is dried up, then go about your business. Those were hygiene rules even when there was no modern medicine. So God also says, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And God did not say that he didn't believe in medicine and he didn't believe in medical prevention and medical precaution. No, 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 no. God always said to people, do the right thing at the right time. Wash your hands when you need to, take your medicines when you need to, but have the faith to believe God for healing and for divine healing, especially when medicine is unavailable or medicine fails. And then sometimes the root cause of some of our illnesses is sin or disobedience or emotional trauma or stress. And therefore, God wants you to be at peace, even as your soul is at peace or as your soul prospers. So having faith and believing God does not mean that when you need to take some physical action to aid that belief of God, you shouldn't do it. And Jesus Christ himself had different methods of healing people. Sometimes he spat on the ground and rubbed their faces. Sometimes he asked them to apply something on top of the illness. Sometimes he told them to go and wash in the pool Siloam, and so on and so forth. And sometimes he just spoke to the disease, and the disease disappeared, okay? Because these things do hear the voice of man and the voice of God. So there are different reactions to different situations, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. That does not tamper with our faith, that we believe in God, we believe in the efficacy of God, and we believe in the ability of God to do things that man cannot do. And guess what? It is God that provided the medical science that we all are living with today. It comes from the wisdom of God, studying the anatomy of men, and knowing that this is how God did some of the things that he did inside the anatomy of men. We don't know everything, and that's why COVID came as a big shock and a big surprise to all of us. But bit by bit, God will also provide the wisdom to overcome COVID, like it overcome chickenpox, smallpox, malaria, diarrhea, all forms of cholera, all forms of viruses. They came as a surprise, and with research, with prayer, with leading, with intuition, and with instinct, God brought about the solutions to these things. So we're going through the process of COVID-19 right now, and definitely with faith in God and belief in Jesus Christ, we will overcome COVID-19, no doubt about that.
And I was asking if you will also agree to the government shutting down the religious houses as well.
If we need to. I mean, there's nothing sacrosanct about a religious house. A religious house is just a gathering of people wanting to worship God, okay? If that gathering and that intimacy in the gathering will lead to the spread of germs or disease, God, because you want to worship him, will not say that the physical things you need to do should not be done. So if we need to shut down the churches, why not? We'll shut down the churches. It was shut down several months ago. We didn't die. We survived. The churches learned to go online, Zoom. We continued. As a matter of fact, some Christianity benefited from it because we now began to use more of technology to offer our evangelism and our worship of God, and people quite enjoyed it. I had members of my church who watched 3, 4, 5 different churches as against just settling in one church on a Sunday. They fed from different places. Well, the income, the revenue went down, but church is not about income and revenue. Church is about serving the people, but the expenses also went down. So net, you still manage to keep your fellowship going. And quite a lot of us have enjoyed the Zoom meetings. It's not quite as intimate, but we have managed, you know. We reduced things to house fellowships, smaller gatherings, and so on and so forth. But you know what? Life must continue. So no church should feel that any government is really against them. No, we're just a social gathering. The same way they're against clubs, nightclubs, the same way they're against event centers and so on and so forth. It's nothing personal, and I really don't take it personally. I think we're in a moment of crisis, and if the churches need to pay some price or go through some situation, then let's go through it. Because we are worshiping God does not mean that the virus won't be present. God knew that the virus was there before we started worshiping him, and therefore we should also be careful, very, very careful. But my own pain point is the markets, is the places where people don't seem to be paying attention to the gatherings there. People don't wear masks, people don't do anything. And people just think that they're immune. Even some parts of Nigeria, they don't even believe that COVID exists. So government needs to spend a lot of time and energy and effort in really educating the people in a lot of these places.
Right. The vaccines are started to roll out, and but we're hearing a lot of conspiracy theory, and it's coming from the church. There's a certain Dr. Stella Emanuel in America that says she's a pastor that goes even to the extent of saying that the COVID-19 vaccines are a way to pretty much circulate the mark of the beast and extend the reign of Lucifer on earth, and goes ahead to tout up a lot of conspiracy theory. And that's the way it is every part of the world. We've had our own fair share here about, you know, some pastors saying COVID-19, you know, is the end of the world, mark of the beast and things like that. Yeah. So what's your take on those conspiracy theories? And I also want to ask you on top of that, the psychosocial support for your members during this time of COVID-19. First, conspiracy theory, second, psychosocial support.
Okay, so this issue of conspiracy theory, and I'm glad you called it conspiracy theory, and a lot of the time we have this all over the place, especially from people who are partially informed or uninformed. Let us deal with facts. The fact number one is that there's a virus out there. Where it came from, how it came, we're not so sure. Bat or beast or man, or an experiment gone awry, we don't know. But there is a virus, and the virus is medically proven to be affecting people. The second thing is, what is the solution? A vaccine is not the sign of the beast. A vaccine is taking some elements of the virus, culturing it. Thank you very much, Ruben. And I was saying that there's a challenge with either misinformed, underinformed, or wrongly informed people. And that's a challenge that we've had in church, in Christianity, in life, through all the ages. Yes, there is a portion of the Bible that talks about the mark of the beast, the 666, this and that. Nobody fully understands it, but the reference is to the microchip that it seems as though people will be getting, that nobody can buy or sell unless they have that microchip. That's technology. There's nothing you can do about it. What the Bible has done is to forewarn you about it and know how to manage it such that you don't get under the yoke thereof. As regards the vaccine, I think the problem with the vaccine is that they're thinking that very soon they're going to insist that people should have a microchip in their hands to prove that they have been vaccinated. The vaccine itself is just taking some of the virus, culturing it, and putting it into somebody's body so that he can build up a resistance to the disease. There's nothing wrong with that. Even in the Bible, they did that from time to time to help people prevent certain diseases. It's the chip that's the problem, and the reign of the love of money and the wickedness of man and so on and so forth, and the control over people's lives, making them that they can neither buy or sell except you worship this so-called beast. But Christians need to come together, pray together, and prayerfully walk spiritually against any form of evil control over human beings. It happens all the time, with or without the microchip. The microchip is just an evidence of that era, that the command and control will be a lot more. So people saying that we shouldn't take the vaccine are a little bit misinformed, if you ask me. And they're just trying to frighten people and prey on people's ignorance. We need a cure to this illness. We need a prevention thereof, and we must work assiduously towards it. We also need to face the evil that's trying to control the world and make people, because of the love of money, bow down to the forces of evil. That's the simplicity of what the gospel is saying. And both of them, though may have some kind of connection, are not really related. They're two separate things. So nobody should come and start saying that 666 and microchip and this and that. I think they're going a little bit off the radar there. With regards to psychosociological measures for members of my congregation, it's not just members of my congregation that we deal with in Trinity House. We believe that the world is our congregation. And even before COVID-19, we reached out very largely to the less privileged, to the underserved, to the hungry, to the poor in society, because the Bible says you have to love your neighbor as yourself, and you have to be your brother's keeper. So our policy in Trinity House is, as best as we can, no member of the church will go without food, shelter, accommodation, and hope and opportunity in life within the capacity of our resources, COVID-19 or no COVID-19. We're a church that believes in empowering people and reaching out to people, because the people are the church, and therefore we've done a lot of that. And then within our community in Victoria Land, Oniru, where we are, we go out to look for the underprivileged, and we cater to them both physically and spiritually. We do that on a regular basis. And even as I speak, this week, we're going to start a month-long food kitchen around the church to make sure that everybody around the church and in the church, member or non-member, who comes through our gates is fed something, breakfast and lunch, throughout this period. And these are the things that we're doing. We minister to the needs of our people. We teach them how to fish as best as we can, in spite of and inside of this very, very difficult economy. And we also speak through to power, and we try to engage government to try and ensure that they can right-size our economy, because Nigeria is a place of great potential. And if we could have government thinking in the right direction to unleash the potential of Nigeria, then nobody needs to be hungry in Nigeria. We can produce enough food, we can produce enough medication, we can produce enough services to serve the needs of our people. And we have the capacity to do that. It's just the right policy and the right tone at the top that we need. And that's what we're begging government for and asking them to please try and do. The challenges are enormous. And we're also saying to people, help yourself also. If you can build your own road around your estate, build your own road. If you can do your own borehole, do your own borehole. If you can do your own IPP power, do your own IPP. If you can build your own school, build your own school. Don't sit around twiddling your thumbs waiting for almighty government. I know you pay your taxes, but nonetheless, you can still do a bit more to help yourself. And this is also what we're asking people to do at this time. Help yourself, support government, work with government to provide a better society for all of us. And government, please put in the right kind of policies and be sincere about it so that life can go on for people and people can fulfill their God-given purposes in life.
Pastor Ituah, just before we go, we've been talking about Christmas and COVID-19 and the challenges for the Christian community. But very quickly, in less than a minute, can you comment on the rescue of the Kankara boys, the abduction also, and what government has done? Education being, for you, a major area of concern.
Yes, it's important that every single Nigerian should be educated. It's a bit unfortunate that 60 years after independence, we have so many children out of school. As regards the rescue of the Kankara boys, my own problem was, why were they captured in the first place? There's something wrong when some people just walk into a school and capture 300 and something boys just like that and walk away. They say something else has happened in Katsina now. But I'm glad that at least this time around the response was swift. Government moved quickly and got those boys back. But we need to get to the root cause of this regular capture. Edo State now, I hear, is a real bedlam of kidnapping. Kogi State, the same thing. All over various parts of the north, the same thing. We need to get to the root cause. We need to really approach our security architecture and see how we can have a holistic solution to this particular situation and not just throwing money after it in panic measures. But I congratulate government for the rescue of these boys, and I pray that such a thing never happens again to disturb our well-being in Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor Ituah Ighodalo, for joining us on the morning show, and thank you very much for your insights.